Alright, we have some new information regarding The Last of Us Part 2 that I feel as though is certainly worth taking a little bit of time here to go over and talk about here and maybe even speculate upon. In fact, one of the things we're going to be talking about is pure speculation, but it seems like it actually could be very likely based off of Naughty Dog's history, especially with the way they handled Uncharted 4's multiplayer beta. But there's also a piece of information here that does seem very much legit that I think a lot of you will also be interested in, because it kind of gives us more of an idea of what exactly to expect from this upcoming media event that Sony and Naughty Dog are holding in Los Angeles, California on September 24th. For those of you who may not be aware, this is exactly what Sony and Naughty Dog are planning on doing, and The Last of Us 2 is going to be there. This is going to be what they're going to be showing off, and it's crazy because you don't really see too often a single game having an entire press event, basically, or media event, as they're calling it, dedicated to it. So you know it's going to be pretty significant. But Daniel Mod, aka ZHugeX on Twitter, I've been referencing him a few times now on my channel simply because he has some very interesting things he's been tweeting about. He actually came out today and he said it looks like media gets a 3-hour hands-on at the event next week. And he actually goes on to say, just bear in mind, this doesn't mean we get 3 hours of footage. The event is embargoed and media will only be able to talk about or show certain things. Also, 3 hours hands-on doesn't necessarily mean 3 hours of gameplay. Some of that time may be used to showcase other stuff. So this is the part of the information here that is legit. There's also something else as well, but this to me was the most interesting because 3 hours, in my opinion, confirms exactly what I thought. This was going to be the massive blowout of news and information, but this also does confirm that this is going to be a media-only thing. I mean, we kind of already knew that, but I think some of us were a little bit unsure. I mean, I know I was unsure at first if this was going to be something that the public was going to be able to see the same day. But we've been speculating that the press is going to get it early on the 24th, and then they're going to do their write-ups about it, and Sony and Naughty Dog are basically going to give these websites and the gaming media their time to basically, get some traffic in, because they know just how excited people are for The Last of Us Part 2. And then on Outbreak Day, which is September 26th, we have speculated that that is going to be when they reveal maybe not all of this, because again, 3 hours is a long time. That's a lot of information. And when he says hands-on time, he does emphasize here that this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 3 hours of gameplay. If I'm being honest, I don't think anybody would expect 3 hours of gameplay. Not only would that be absolutely way too much, but I think most people would agree that we don't want to see 3 hours of gameplay, right? But that's not to say that we're not going to get new gameplay. We certainly are to some extent, but it just makes you wonder what else Naughty Dog and Sony are planning on talking about, because 3 hours is a long time, and it's very exciting in my opinion. I'm not going to lie, now that I'm hearing it's going to be 3 hours, even though it is just the press and the media that are going to be there experiencing it, I'm definitely going to be paying very close attention to what all the outlets and what everybody is saying who is part of this event, because I just want to know more about this game. I don't want to know everything, but there's certainly some things I really do want to know. But moving on from that, we have some other very interesting information and speculation, but we have to kind of understand that these two things kind of go hand in hand. At first, I was planning on just reporting on the fact that apparently The Last of Us Part 2 is confirmed to be at an upcoming Madrid Games Week event that is happening the first week of October. Sony confirmed that The Last of Us Part 2 will be there, but I came across this interesting article. It says a multiplayer beta for The Last of Us 2 might be in the works, so that caught my eye. Let's go over it here. It says that The Last of Us 2 is set to be revealed on September 24th, though it seems Sony has even more surprises up their sleeve. As the wait draws even closer, numerous fans have theorized that a multiplayer beta for the game might be in the works. Although that is far from confirmed, it doesn't seem to be too much of a stretch. While Naughty Dog hasn't really gone in-depth regarding multiplayer thus far, perhaps a beta would be the perfect opportunity to reveal what's in store. The prospect of a beta started to attract some attention following the announcement of The Last of Us Part 2 at Madrid Games Week 2019 earlier this week. Fans began to realize that the Uncharted 4 multiplayer was available at Paris Games Week 2015 and have since put 2 and 2 together. Madrid Games Week is slated to take place from October 3rd to 6th, so perhaps we'll hear more information about it if there is a multiplayer beta in the weeks leading up to it. So obviously this is just purely speculative. There's no evidence other than the fact that, like they point out here, Uncharted 4's multiplayer was available at Paris Games Week 2015, and this could be a possibility. I mean, if they really want to truly make things instantly skyrocket and go through the roof, honestly, a playable, multiplayer beta for everybody would be insane. That would be way more than I could have expected. But here's the thing, we do know that a multiplayer component will be attached to The Last of Us Part 2. That's not the biggest reason why everybody's excited, but make no mistake, there is a community around this, and there are a lot of people who are very much excited for the multiplayer component of The Last of Us Part 2. So if you think about this 3-hour event, if you think about this being the big news and information blowout, I don't see them getting around talking about the multiplayer aspect, because if they don't, people might at that point start to get concerned that there is no multiplayer aspect for anybody who is looking forward to it. So I assume that if they're going to have a 3-hour event and they're going to be showing this game off, see, this is what interests me. When I think about this Madrid Games Week, I'm not too familiar with it, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what this event is going to entail. I'm not sure if it's the type of event where they have a stage and they show off new trailers or anything like that, or if it's just one of these things where they have booths set up for people to play games. And if they do, is The Last of Us 2 going to be playable? Is the media event for the these websites and all of these outlets within the gaming industry, are they going to be able to play The Last of Us Part 2? Maybe they're going to show people a new story trailer, some new story gameplay, and then they're also going to mention the multiplayer, talk about it, show it off, reveal a little bit more about the story as well of The Last of Us Part 2, but maybe they will actually have a multiplayer component that's playable for the press, so that the press can basically talk about what it feels like to play the game and what the multiplayer will be like. Or maybe it'll just be a situation where they're only going to have a section of the single player that's playable for the media, and they get to write about it and talk about it, but that will not be playable for the public, obviously. That's something that commonly happens, but I don't know. Again, I'm just speculating here, but I feel as though it's worth talking about because we're going to know soon enough. The point is, we are going to be getting information on The Last of Us Part 2, and as I said earlier, I'm going to do my best to keep up with everything. I have a feeling once the floodgates are open, it's going to be crazy. I think it's just going to be, there's going to be like too much information at one time. This frequently happens with games, with the build up to the massive big info dump and reveal, but I'm very much looking forward to it. And I don't know, maybe it's stretching it too much to think that there will be a multiplayer beta, but we do have to acknowledge that, based off of everything we know, there is a multiplayer component to this. Other things that people are hoping to see is maybe more of Joel, learning about just exactly what type of role he's going to play in the story. Who knows, maybe with the next trailer or gameplay section they show, if I could talk, they will actually reveal more of Joel, and who knows, maybe he'll even be playable to some extent. I don't know. What I do know is that my excitement, honestly, couldn't be any higher. I really just can't wait to see what I honestly can't wait for is to see the reaction across the internet when this happens, because I've said multiple times, and this is where I want to end the video, this is the last thing I want to say, because I still think it's just as true, and I think it's going to be proven true very, very soon. I've said multiple times that The Last of Us Part 2 is an absolute juggernaut of a game. I don't think there's any game right now that has more momentum going for it. I don't think there's any game as big as The Last of Us Part 2. I'm just being completely honest here. And I think that when the floodgates open on the 24th, or even after that, like when we start to really maybe get more information or footage, I should say, in the public, and we start to learn about everything, I really think it's just going to prove just how excited people, if for those who don't already believe it, it's going to really prove just how excited people are for The Last of Us Part 2. But that is going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like. It really helps it out, lets me know you guys enjoy the content. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.